Hello, good morning. You're watching Sky News Breakfast. A reminder of our headlines here this morning. And Hamas releases 2 American hostages in Gaza as violent clashes continue both in Gaza and the West Bank. The US Embassy in Israel says the border between Egypt and Gaza at the Rafah crossing will open this morning. This is the scene there now, as world leaders meet in Cairo to try and break the deadlock. A second red weather warning is in force as Storm Babet kills 3 people and causes widespread disruption in England and Scotland. Now, in a moment, we're going to be discussing the papers with PR and crisis management expert Kevin Craig and the anthropologist Marianne Hotter, who, as you can see, are here with me. Hello again to both of you. Let's take a look, though, at the front pages before we talk about some of these stories inside. And there's the front page of The Times, which pictures, as you can see, mother and daughter Judith and Natalie Raanan, who were freed last night by their Hamas captors. The Raanans also make the front of The Eye. Suggesting an invasion of Gaza could be imminent, The Mirror has the headline, Deadly Wait. The Mail meets a young woman conscripted into the Israeli army from her job in an ad agency who's about to start fighting for her country. The Financial Times reports that Israel intends to sever ties to the Gaza Strip once the current conflict is over. The Telegraph reveals that a planned terror attack in the UK, allegedly by an asylum seeker and linked to Gaza, has been foiled by the authorities. The Express hears that Conservative insiders reacting to last night's double by-election loss believe the best way to win back the electorate is to demonstrate so-called true blue values. Well, The Guardian quotes a victorious Keir Starmer saying that Labour is redrawing the political map. And The Star offers pearls of wisdom from an AI chatbot that apparently believes all humans are aliens living on a planet run by Elon Musk. So here with us, as I was saying, to review the papers and talk through some of those stories are the PR and crisis management expert Kevin Craig and the anthropologist Marianne Hotter. Hello again to both of you. Nice to see you again. Now, we dealt with a lot of the front page stories that focus on the Israel-Hamas war and those various elements. But here at home, a big political story yesterday, and that was the by-election results from Thursday. The voting on Thursday, of course, the results came in overnight. So, Marianne, you're kicking us off with the Express, aren't you?
So the Express are running on the front page. Yeah. Angry Tories say only true blue values can woo back votes. Now, what are these true blue values? Well, the argument that they're making is, yes, we lost both seats in these by-elections, but Conservative voters didn't vote for the Labour candidate. Conservative voters stayed at home. So even though these were previously sort of Conservative strongholds and Labour has won a majority, it's not a huge majority. The swing is huge, but the majority isn't huge, which suggests that the people who are going to vote for Labour voted for Labour, perhaps those in the middle opted for Labour, but the kind of solid Conservative said, well, we don't want the Conservative candidate, but we also don't want these other guys either. So they've stayed at home. So the kind of...
That's what they're suggesting. I mean,
that's what they're suggesting.
Of course, interviewed everybody and found out if that's the case.
Now, this is the Express. They are a right-leaning paper, and so they're running a little piece by Lord Mandelson saying that Keir Starmer is not on the same, quote, wavelength as voters, that there's no enthusiasm for him. And the kind of question is that true? Is there a method for Sunak and the Conservative Party to paint some kind of optimistic with a party of change and future, given that they've been in power this long, that they can't say, we've got a radical new plan for dealing with immigration, we've got a radical new plan for getting the economy going. Rishi Sunak used to be the Chancellor. I mean, he's now the Prime Minister. He's incumbent. So it's always a challenge, isn't it? And I think actually what's really struck me is that Keir Starmer has come across in the response to the by-election results as very, very low-key. This isn't a crowing...
They're cautious about looking victorious, aren't they?
He's not standing on the plinth kind of, you know, brandishing fists. This is very low-key. This is a step on the way to the election, etc., etc. And I think that's quite carefully played.
Well, yes, and a general election could be at least a year away, and so there is lots of time and things can change. But these by-election results were fairly conclusive, weren't they, in terms of the swing? I mean, they were relatively safe seats, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Marianne's done a very good job there of capturing the Daily Express's take, which
Take us to The Guardian.
Indeed. Yeah. So, you know, the Guardian, these papers are both broadly very clearly aligned behind different parties. The Express takes a slavish conservative line to most issues. The Guardian, twin by-election victories redraw the political map, Starmer declares on pages 12 and 13. Now, I think Marianne's right. Keir Starmer is so not assuming that this is a done deal. You know, figures around him, David Evans, the party's General Secretary, indeed Angela Rayner, none of them assume that the Labour Party has won a general election, okay? There is and the neutrals in the broader media sphere are very clearly talking about historic swings this week and results. But Keir Starmer knows Labour hasn't won an election yet. He's a genuinely, I mean, one of the reasons I'm quite excited about the prospect of him as Prime Minister is in all my interactions with him, and I was in mid-beds all day on Monday, is he's a very down-to-earth, humble, modest bloke. And someone said, oh, the Express will go, oh, Keir Starmer's boring.
Well, yeah, essentially you were the word exciting, because there are some people that suggest that he's not exciting enough.
Oh, well, do you know what? Number one, if you meet him in the flesh or you see him speak, I actually think he is quite an exciting politician. And exciting, if you want clowns, let's all go to the circus. We've had enough of that. We've had enough of that sort of tomfoolery in our public life.
OK, well, we'll wait and see. There could be more by-elections to come before the general election, and of course the general election will be the real test of what voters think. In the meantime, though, let's move on to other issues, and a story in the Times, Marianne, you're going to take us to, and we're going back to the impact of the Israel-Hamas war and the fact that it's raised tensions around the world.
Raised tensions around the world for both Jewish communities and Muslim communities. Now, it really needs to be said that Jewish and Muslim do not align neatly with Israel and Palestine. It's much more complicated than that. Context is everything. But what's happened is that people feel enormous fear and genuinely are being targeted by both anti-Jewish hatred and anti-Muslim hatred in various places around the world. And this is a kind of a really uplifting story just at the end, at the bottom of that left-hand page, about a group of women who have an organisation. The name is Nish Nisham, which is woman in Hebrew, women in Hebrew, and women in Arabic. And what's happened is that they've had an exchange. So some Muslim women came to the Jewish Friday night prayers, and the Jewish women are going to go to the mosque to pray with the Muslim community. And this is a sort of sign of solidarity that we are together in our vision of peace. And I thought it's just really important to, it makes me upset because it's so
emotional about it.
It's heavy, isn't it?
There's so much.
It is very heavy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Take a moment. Take a moment.
And it was a great story you picked out because it is a sliver of light. This story on the bottom of page 8 in the Times, I think, about, you know, there will be a world after this current period, and people from both sides of this war will reconcile, and there's some amazing work happening on the ground in this country to try and keep communities together, and that is what we're going to hang on to in the middle of this very, very dark period. But yeah, bottom of page 8 in the Times, a really uplifting article about some great
finding
people.
common ground.
Yeah, finding common ground, absolutely. Yeah. Let's move on to a different issue, shall we? Well, let's turn further in the paper, actually. I'm trying to find it myself. Here we go. Johnson under the microscope in the COVID inquiry.
Well, this is really important because were it not for the horrors unleashed by the terrorism of Hamas 2 weeks ago today, the COVID-19 inquiry would be the leading story, in my humble opinion, alongside the by-elections. And it is worth, Sky listeners and viewers, looking at this story today in the Times and others, where the COVID inquiry is rumbling on, and there is testimony from scientific figures which is effectively laying the blame for excess deaths at at the door of decisions taken by Boris Johnson as Prime Minister.
Presumably he's not had a chance yet to defend himself from that.
Absolutely, and he must properly be given that chance. But, you know, it's not just, you know, it was some advisors who used to work very closely with him, the likes of Dominic Cummings, who also have a very, very low view of how he performed. And I think the COVID-19 inquiry is worth huge public scrutiny in terms of decisions taken, lives lost, money spent. And it's really notable. If we're talking about the papers today and other times, this will be leading.
Well, yes, and it's long running, isn't it? So we will get lots more detail coming out.
Absolutely, but I think Kevin's right that the kind of the focus, the scrutiny, that we need to be conscious of paying attention to it, because otherwise it just becomes background noise.
And you want lessons to be learned.
Lessons to be learned, that's the thing. Not only kind of resolution for the people whose lives were upturned or lost loved ones, economies, all the rest of it, but of course what happens when the next one comes, because there will be another pandemic. How do we respond properly?
I'm slightly rushing you because we've got 30 seconds and I want you to get onto the £28 sandwich.
So you can go and buy a £28 sandwich from Harrods if you want to, cost of living notwithstanding. It's got really fancy beef, really fancy mustard and some truffle mayonnaise.
Oh my goodness, so it's a normal size, you don't get any extra for your £28, it's just a normal size sandwich.
No, apparently 10 bites.
Lots of very
so each bite is £2.50. And the journalist, bless her, I mean, she was probably having a heavy week as well. So someone said, go and do a thing about a sandwich, you know, like write 500 words about a sandwich. So she writes 500 words about a sandwich. They're very good words, well done, Claire Finney.
Wow.
But basically she said by the end of it she felt a bit sick. It was a bit much.
And what cost of living crisis, eh? Marianne and Kevin, we're out of time, but you're back again in the next hour. So
yes.
Nice to see you, thank you.